We're your hosts, Sally F. and Damon Phillips. We're here to help you rethink your money mindset, navigate family finances, and create financial peace without losing sight of what truly matters. It's a little bit practical, a little bit personal, and a whole lot of transformative. So grab your coffee, friend, because it's time to talk real life and real money. Welcome back.
Can you see me?
I can't.
I look like a reflector.
A blown up highlighter. Episode 7, lessons from our entrepreneurial, I can't say that word, and I know you can't spell it.
I can't spell it.
From our adventures. I don't really think of us as entrepreneurs, do you?
No.
That's funny because as I wrote this outline, I thought,
We've had some businesses.
Yeah, we have. So let's talk about this. We started businesses, we sold businesses, never borrowed a dime to do any of it. Part of just our belief system. We're not saying it's wrong. It's the way we chose.
It's the way we chose to do it.
To do it, sure. And if there's one lesson we've learned over the years,
Partners are for dancing. They're not for business.
Damon has said that over the years. Now we learned lessons throughout. I don't know if there's any other way to learn business lessons without
doing it,
owning them yourself. And the first company that we started was a t-shirt company. Started a t-shirt company.
One MR, one more rep.
One more rep. We were in the CrossFit community.
We were.
And?
We would go to competitions and people were selling their shirts. There were, back in when we first started, there was only a couple of brands out there that were really, I guess, dialed in to specifically CrossFit. So we thought, why not be grassroots and go to these competitions with our product and get started with that. And we did. We went to a competition in Houston.
To a lot of competitions.
Excuse me.
And we went to a lot of competitions and we saw a lot of CrossFit gyms.
Right.
And we met a lot of CrossFit people.
Met tons. And they were happy to wear CrossFit apparel, again, because there wasn't a huge outlet for it as far as companies. So, we kind of filled a niche and we sold quite a bit.
Yeah. And we actually had a business partner in that. And he was a graphic designer.
So basically what we traded was we put in the money and this gentleman did the design. And then we split the cost as far as the profit 50-50 after we recouped.
But then what happened?
We started a competition.
Yeah.
And
you had a vision.
I did. So we started a CrossFit competition for beginners. And, a lot of times I would see that, people wouldn't sign up because they were afraid that something would be in the competition that they couldn't do. So what I decided to do was have the biggest amateur competition we could. I would tell them as far as what would not be in the competition. And I also told them that they could have their coach right there by them during the event. They would still have to be outside the fence, but they could be right there so they could coach them and talk to them. And that took a lot of stress away from athletes when they said, okay, well, I can do these things. And we actually made it a 2-day event and we guaranteed them 6 events, which back in that time, maybe you got 3 in a day competition. So I think the first competition we had 274 athletes.
And it just kept growing. So it was an annual competition to start with.
The first 3 years, we did one competition. Mm-hmm. And then we started doing 2 a year for the next 2 years.
We got invited
to
go to Austin to host. It was a big fitness
symposium, and they wanted a CrossFit event. So they hired
us to do it within.
So we did ours and we did theirs. Yeah. And we did that for 3 years in a row. So that was 6 competitions in 3 years. And
we made decent
money. Made really good money.
Yeah. Fun fact, we had named it Wadapalooza. And almost immediately after that, some company, a big CrossFit, started a Wadapalooza competition in Florida. That still exists today?
It still exists today.
That has taken off on a life of its own.
But the good news is they ended up, when we stopped our competition, they purchased the naming rights.
The Instagram name.
And all of that.
www.
So
the websites, yeah.
So it was a win-win for everybody. We were getting out. They paid us basically for the intellectual property that we created. And they were happy to have the name. And they've done a great job with it.
Oh, yeah. So what being in all these different CrossFits and meeting all these different CrossFit people did for us is it made us think, we'd kind of like to have our own CrossFit. And so venture number 2.
Right. Well, I guess it was number 3 after the competition, but
sure.
It was one of those that we were both working 9 to 5 jobs and I was a financial advisor. And I had wanted to do it, and I talked myself out of things. And then finally some circumstances occurred, and I remember going and finding a building that day and calling Sally and saying, you need to come down and take a look at this building, because I'm going to sign a contract unless you come down here and tell me, one, you can't or won't do it, or two, you see something wrong with the building. I'm like, but I'm ready. I was like, I've had enough. The thought of going backwards was worse than the fear of jumping. So I was like, let's do it. And you came down.
Yeah, and we did it. We had some starting capital, some of which came from the Wadapalooza events.
Yes.
We borrowed money from our left pocket to fund the startup costs.
Took
for
some
this
out of the
building.
investment account.
Yeah.
And the good news is we did our homework. I mean, we knew how many athletes we would have to have in order to pay all our fixed costs.
Right.
Not to be profitable, just to keep the doors open without making a penny.
And it was not very many.
No, I think it was a total of 15. But, when you come home and you had maybe 9 show up during the whole day, right. It's like, okay, this may not work. Then slowly we gained traction, and we actually became profitable inside of 10 months.
Yeah. And don't miss what he said. We did not leave our jobs to go run this gym. No, we worked. These were 4 16-hour days. Started at 5. We had a class at 5, a class at 6. We both went and worked our full-time jobs all day long. And then we came back to the gym and opened classes for the evening.
Till 8. So these were 16-hour days, Monday through Friday. There were 29 classes being taught, and we taught all 29 of them. So that happened for 4 years.
Yeah.
That was a grind.
And we would make some ground, right? We had some income. We had not enough to leave our jobs, but some. We worked our way kind of into that, where I came on first. I started I was teaching at the time. So one summer I ran I could run classes during the day, and then I stayed on. And it was not so much that I was running so many classes during the day, but managing our lives, cooking meals, shopping, just
kids in school.
Yeah, we had
that
kids
didn't drive yet.
No. So we did that. And then did you come on full time before we bought the building?
No.
Okay. So we're getting comfortable, right? We're starting to make some headway.
We are running the competitions. We're running the business.
Yes.
And we've created a revenue stream and some capital. And a friend of ours who is a local real estate agent said, I have a client that wants to sell his building. He's got some land and a house behind it. Think it would make a great CrossFit space. Why don't you come and take a look at it? And I looked at it, and I'm like, that is going to take so much work.
It was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen.
He's like, that's great. He said, because we'll get it for a great price. And I got to give the guy credit. He did. He got it for a tremendous price. And we actually bought it and spent 6 months and more of our own money.
So here we go. Back
revamping.
Again. We're opening the gym in the morning, working full time during the day, working to build out this new building.
The weekends after classes.
Yeah. And during the day, whenever we can.
At night. And we had athletes jump in and help us, and we couldn't thank them enough.
Listen, the competition was run with volunteers, moving of the gym, the rebuilding of the gym, the building of the new gym, all of that. Tons. We could name the people that helped us along the way.
But what we did as a business is that we took the money that we made and we put it back into a bigger vision of what we had or what we were already running. And eventually we got it to where it was paid for, and that we could keep the equipment updated and fixed without having to spend a lot of money. And then we actually created a slush fund for the business. So we found that the best time to buy new products was Black Friday. Big vendors would have these huge sales. So basically we would go out and we'd ask our athletes, okay, what's the gym missing? What, if you had a wish list, what would you put on it that we don't have? And we would kind of take that list as our guide and go out. And the fun thing is we would buy all that equipment and have it delivered after Black Friday. And we would work out and have a party. And it was like, we put tarps over it and let everybody take it. And like, what did you ask for? Oh, you're here. You got all these Rogue Echo bikes. Guess what? Let's put them together. But people saw that they had some say and they had some buy-in to the gym. And it was a lot of fun for us to do. It kept the business updated and fresh for athletes. And when new people came in, they saw the updated equipment. So that is basically kind of where we were as we got towards the end of the business. It was like it was running like a machine, like we wanted it to. The only bad thing about that was it's 8 years down the road now.
That waking up at 4 a.m. has lost its appeal.
I would never even say that. It's just, I used to tell Sally is that, I coached high school football a long time ago, and your dream is to get to the playoffs. And by the time you get to the playoffs, you're so exhausted that, you kind of almost sleepwalking. It's very exciting time on Friday nights, but then that Friday night when it's over to the next Friday when you play, it's just you're exhausted. And I think I know that's where I was at.
And I mean, let's face it, we were not youngsters. We were 40s, 50s. 40s. Yeah.
Late 40s.
Late 40s. So
still getting up at 4 a.m.
Yeah. And so it came to the point where we were ready to move on.
It was a business. It was running. We had real estate as a part of it. So we had 2 people actually talk to us, and they were both friends. So I didn't want to create a bidding war. And the first person that we talked to, I told him, I'm going to give you the right of refusal, but this is what I was offered. I'm not asking you to beat it, which is probably not a very smart business thing to do. Because you said yes, if you'll match it, I'll sell it to you. If not, I'm going to sell it to this other individual, and it's nothing against you. And they agreed. And best thing we did, I think, is we structured the payments out over 7 years to help us with some of the tax implications. But that is what we actually used the first 7 years of retirement, which just ended this last January 1st was our last payment on the business. So we, I hate to tell you this, but we don't have any income now. We don't have a job. We don't have any incoming revenue.
We were retired, but we've had revenue.
But that stream, I will say, has dried up. So do a great job with this business coaching, because I need somebody.
And so then came life coaching, and this became born out of retirement and a sense of finding a sense of purpose. This feels different, and it's been challenging. I wanted to do something on my own, and I did, but it didn't take me long to miss working with him and to see the value of that and to want to work with him again. So
thank you.
Yeah. So what would we tell anybody starting out?
I would say you need to have a plan and a vision for what you're trying to accomplish, and then ask yourself, do you have the funds, or how you're going to fund it? The one thing I always said is that when we funded it ourselves, it limited our scope because we knew what funds we had. So we weren't going to go borrow money. So it's like, okay, this is all we have. This is what we're going to be able to do. And that gives you a little motivation, but also the fact that, okay, if this somehow doesn't work, we don't have to pay anybody back. We lost the money that we've created, and we can go back and try to make that back somehow. But you don't have to go to the bank, because imagine if you have a business and you have to close it not making any money, and then you borrow the money, you still got to pay that money back somehow. Right. So you got to sell off everything that you had and pray that you're somewhere close. The thing is, we didn't have to do that.
I would say that starting a business is full of challenges. And if you can eliminate the challenge of it's full of challenges, and also I owe money on it. Also, this business has a tremendous amount of pressure to perform to make that money back. It just adds a pressure that we choose. We chose never to have. What's the best lesson you learned from starting all these? What'd you say?
I think for us, it gave us ownership of our lives as far as we got to dirt. I always tell people all the time, when I got out of the corporate world, I felt like a dog that got off a chain and just started running. And the last thing I ever wanted to do was get put back on that chain again. So it motivated me to put time and effort in to make this work, and then getting to do it with you. I mean, we worked, and the neat thing about it is in our business is that after time, we found our roles, and I think we both were very good at the things that we did for the business, which I think helped the business grow and sustain itself.
Sure. I would say there's nothing like working for yourself. You can be the greatest boss you've ever had, or you can be the worst. I've done both. I don't recommend being the worst, but Damon said it before, having the ability to make choices it's a pretty powerful thing.
But, everybody talks about, I want to sit in the big chair and I want to make the decisions. We used to have a saying, it's like, who motivates the motivator? Mm-hmm. It's like, you're it. You don't want to go to work. Guess what? Too bad. You got to go to work. So you got to motivate yourself somehow. And that, again, that creates its own pressure, but at least you own that. You're in ownership of that. You can decide how you feel about that. And it makes a lot of difference when money comes into your account. You know what, we did this together. We created this. It wasn't paid for something that I did for somebody else.
Sure. So what about you? Would you ever start your own business? Have you started your own business?
I think the environment today lends itself to where there are so many, the definition of business has changed so much from even when we did it, is that I think our economy is geared to people starting businesses and doing it without a whole lot of capital to start out with. The question is, are you ready to do it? Are you willing to do it? Step out and possibly fail. But guess what? Possibly could do a great thing. You'll never know.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I think you learn more about yourself than you could in any other situation. But tell us how you are. Like, if you're considering opening a business, starting a business, let us know if you have questions.
How you go about financing it on your own? I will state this: don't take money out of your 401k to do it. That's maybe coming in another episode, but that's a terrible idea. Don't do it. Till next time.
Thanks so much for spending time with us today. If you know somebody who would benefit from this episode, we would love it if you shared it with them. And if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, we'd love a 5-star rating and a review. If you're listening on Spotify, hit follow and tap that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribing's the way to go. If you're ready to take control of your money and your mindset, I offer one-on-one coaching to help you thrive financially and personally. We'll see you soon for another Real Life Money Talk.